This video is brought to you by MagicJank.com, the spiciest cards for your sauciest decks. Buy and sell Magic the Gathering products and gear today on MagicJank.com. What is up, Janksters? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and we have a fun Explorer brew today where we are going to be building around the Ichormoon Gauntlet and All Will Be One, and yes, it's gross, and I love it. So stay tuned for the deck tech. But right at the top, though, I want to give a huge shout out to MagicJank.com for supporting this show and all the content on the channel. So please don't hesitate to check out MagicJank.com for buying and selling all of your Magic the Gathering products, gear, cards, packs, you name it, they got it. So definitely check them out. We love them. Also, huge shout outs and huge thank you to my patrons, especially the patrons that are subbed at the $10 Mythic level: Angry Jellyfish, Black Trav, Else89, Ryan, and Silent Labber. Thank you for helping me keep the lights on. It makes a huge difference. I appreciate it oh so much. So thank you for everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Let's get to the deck tech. All right, so here is our Gauntlet deck. This is a combo deck. Make no mistake about it. That is exactly what we're doing. Our finisher is All Will Be One. This enchantment is wild. Whenever a counter is placed on it, whenever you put a counter on a permanent or player, doesn't care whose stuff you're putting counters on. If you're the one putting counters on it, you then deal just a bunch of damage to your opponent or their stuff. So the idea is we want to just get this thing popping off in as fast a way as possible. Now, Ichormoon Gauntlet says that all planeswalkers we control get a 0 ability of proliferating, which is great. So obviously we want to get a lot of planeswalkers online. And so I was thinking about all these different ways that we could play a ton of planeswalkers in this deck, and then I realized there's one 4-of that allows us to play a ton of planeswalkers all on his own, and that is Jace Cunning Castaway. So Jace Cunning Castaway is a 3-drop walker with starting loyalty 3 that has a +1 that, let's be honest, in this deck is basically irrelevant. Then it has a -2 of creating a 2/2 illusion token, which is kind of weak. It's also an illusion, so if your opponent targets it with anything, it just dies. So like, that's pretty bad. But Jace's -5 is phenomenal. Create 2 tokens that are copies of Jace Cunning Castaway, except they're not legendary. So the joke with this card was like, oh, I'm going to create a whole bunch of planeswalkers and they're all going to create these 2/2s and I'm eventually going to overrun you with 2/2s. It's like, well, I mean, you could do that, but it kind of sucks and is super duper slow. And as a result, this card's pretty bad. However, it is putting out a ton of planeswalker bodies, and then every time we use one of them to proliferate our entire squad, we're adding counters to a ton of permanents, which makes All Will Be One deal a ton of damage. So we are converting all the tokens of Jace into damage through All Will Be One. And then we use Ichormoon Gauntlet to be able to proliferate the whole team, because the moment we split Jace, we can then proliferate with both of them, or proliferate with one of them. If we have another way to proliferate, then we can split the other one that we haven't activated yet, get 2 more 3/3s, use proliferate on 1. You know, you get the idea. If we're good with this, if we're able to untap with an established swarm of Jaces, I believe it can technically go infinite, but the truth of the matter is your opponent is way dead before you need to go fully infinite if you can get your hands on All Will Be One. Now, we also have Narset, part of our Veils, in here because she's a house. She hoses your opponent's card draw. Mwah, you love it. Also, the Ichormoon Gauntlet gives her what's effectively a plus ability, so we can leverage her -2 turn after turn after turn after turn after turn to dig for our combo pieces if we haven't found them yet, if we're doing the proliferate action. So she's great. We also have Anger the Gods as a 3-of board wipe in here. In a lot of situations, cards like Brotherhood's End are strictly better than Anger of the Gods because they hit planeswalkers. Well, we're creating a gigantic cloud of Jaces. We don't want our sweepers to be hitting planeswalkers. Therefore, I'm using Anger of the Gods. Sweltering Sun is another one that would also fit this bill quite nicely if you have it in your deck, or if you have it in your collection. Unfortunately, well, I do have Sweltering Suns, but there's not a Yargle Sweltering Sun. So I'm using Anger of the Gods. So this will help us survive against aggro, is the idea. We also have Flux Channeler for additional proliferations. Same is true with Experimental Augury and Serum Snare. These are just generic value cards that also proliferate. With Aether, if we have Flux Channeler online, whenever we cast a non-creature spell, we proliferate. And that's why we also have Considers and Ops. These just help us smooth out our early hands because we're trying to set up a combo. We need to get there ultimately. And so turn 1 opt into like smooth the hand, find a combo piece, hopefully, you know, into a turn 2 Experimental Augury. We're not getting any proliferation value necessarily, but we're finding our stuff. Serum Snare also helps us slow our opponent down while also helping set up our board. Feels pretty good. So that's the idea behind the deck. It is full-on combo, Jace, Cunning Castaway, all will be one machine gun. Now, note, there is one fatal flaw with this deck that I have noticed on my PC specifically. I do not know if it will be a problem on yours if you attempt to recreate this at home, which, if you want to, the full deck list is in the description. But I've noticed once I get to about 6 Jace copies, my machine starts chugging along, and sometimes my application will crash, and I have to restart it to rejoin the game. I have no idea why, because it doesn't seem like I've had Scoot Swarms get to 150 copies, and the server will kind of chug a little bit, but my machine is fine. For some reason, Jace crashes my machine or crashes my application. I genuinely have no idea why that is. Do not know if you'll experience the same thing. It's not like there's a ton of animations or anything with this. Anyway, regardless. So that's something that, just be aware of that. And I gotta say though, when you're playing Jank on Arena and your Jank runs the risk of breaking the game, you're doing it right, in my opinion. So we do have a 15 card sideboard. For the purpose of the video, I'm going to be filming best of one video or best of one games. But for sideboarding purposes, we have Tormod's Crypt for the Abzan Greasefang matchup. We do have some lightning strikes in here to deal with aggro decks, so slow down some of that early assault. Against the control matchup, we have Mystical Disputes and Negates. And then again for the Greasefang matchup, we actually have Ashiok Dream Render in the mix as well. This is another Planeswalker that we can that we can be proliferating onto that can also just casually eat our opponent's library, which is like fun but not necessarily. But the biggest thing is it removes their graveyard. Like, just exile your opponent's graveyard and gives us another proliferation target for all will be one. This is the idea, and it's another Planeswalker online that can actually help do the 0 proliferate if we have the gauntlet down. Anyway, so that's the deck. Let's get into some games, see if we can get some wins, and I want to show you what this thing can do, because I gotta be honest, when it fires, it is a ton of fun. We got 3 lands, we got the Gauntlet, and we have the Anger, and we have the mana to cast it. This actually looks decent. Like, not phenomenal, but definitely decent. And decent is enough for me. Now, we could have thrown the Pathway there, we would have had access to consider on 1. Probably should have done that, chose not to. Here we are. Alright, this means that we can commit the Pathway to red, so we'll have the double red in time for Anger. Opponent on Dimir. Okay, interesting. But now we have the Experimental Augury and the Consider Up. And we're going to be able to hit the... Alright, I'm going to go ahead and Experimental Augury here. Some card selection is a beautiful thing. I'm a fan. We don't get access to the Proliferate, but we do get to enjoy this sweet oil animation while our opponent considers whether or not they run out their Spell Pierce on this. Which I gotta be honest, if they did, I'd be jazzed. Because, although, to be fair, too, like... they just telegraph from a mile away that they have a counterspell. And so we select the all will be one, and then top deck all will be one. Tight, I guess? Now, we have the option of running out the Ichormoon Gauntlet, or holding up Consider. Now, I'm pretty sure they have a counterspell. Be kind of surprised if they didn't. We don't have any Planeswalkers yet, so we need to make sure the counters are clear for when the Planeswalkers show up. So, you know what? I'm gonna try to bait it. Let's go. I'm gonna play out the Ichormoon Gauntlet. Let's see if they have the counterspell. They're probably gonna hit it here. If they don't, I'm gonna be jazzed. I'm jazzed. Let's go. They're also they were holding up a Consider. That makes sense. So, yeah, dope. All right, and they dump a Cut Down. All right, is this just the generic Grixis value pile that we're seeing? Or is it, well, no, maybe not. Narset, okay, great card. Great card that I don't have a good answer to be fair. That also shuts down the Consider on our turn, which is mildly problematic. Unfortunately, we drew the land, so that's nice. Yeah, there's basically nothing we can do at the moment. So we passed the turn. Normally, what I would have wanted to do there is consider, see if we can drop into a Planeswalker and hit some goodies there. But on their turn, I'm going to consider. I'm going to put a counter on my island. Enjoy. Except, oh, there are no counters there, so never mind. That's actually kind of dicey. I think I do want that, actually. I think I do want that land, because now we can get all Will Be One online. If we can get all Will Be One online, we can do some gnarly stuff. Because that's ultimately what we're trying to do, right? Like, we need that 5th land. Just is what it is. Oppo with the Thoughtseize. Our hand very Thoughtseize compatible. Take what you will, opponent. I have a feeling they're going to grab one of those all will be ones. If they get rid of the anger, I'm going to be very surprised. But delighted. Yeah. That is correct. Alright, now all of a sudden I'm not cursing my luck for having drawn a second all will be one. I'm on board for this. Alright, tight. Oh. Huh. Flux Channeler is interesting. I think we need to stick the all will be one though, because they're running Dimir. So I point that out because Dimir can counter spells and it can hit on your hand. But there are some, but there aren't many options for removing an enchantment once it's on the field. So they're like, it's kind of Invoke Despair or bust here. So Siphon Insight, sure, get after it. Go steal one of my Planeswalkers that I desperately need on the field right now. Terror, sure. Another Gauntlet. That actually, the reason, so I'm only running 3 gauntlets, specifically because getting multiple gauntlets is useless. It literally does nothing to have a second one in hand, or a second one on the battlefield. I guess you get an additional trigger whenever you cast a non-creature spell. You can buff, like, get that little mini proliferate multiple times, but meh? I don't, like, it's pretty darn weak. I mean, it is a non-creature spell that we can cast, I guess. That's something. You come on in. Welcome to my face. It has all the amenities. I'd like to draw, please, and thank you. Alright. Alrighty, Roo. Now, we have an interesting situation upon us. Upon us? Upon our hands. I'm going to go ahead and attack with my Flux Channeler into Narset. If they block, Anger of the Gods kills Children. Cool. I'm going to do that. I'm going to kill Children. Now, we could have put an additional counter on Narset to deal 1 damage to something. But I don't think that would have been good enough. Now we can hit a second Anger of the Gods to kill the Tolarian Terror. There we go. Now, that, I mean, it was a 2 for 2. The Terror was going to kill us if we didn't answer it. So, we got an answer to that. They have a Shark Typhoon. I don't believe there's anything we can do about that. This is pretty tight, though. First Ichormoon Gauntlet is going to trigger basically nothing. This is a 3. This is going to go face. Bam. I'm going to play out another Ichormoon Gauntlet. So the first one's going to trigger, put an additional counter on Jace. 1 trigger, blast Narset, get her gone. And then we proliferate Jace. Get another damage to face. Okay. So, not an amazing turn, but we minimized what they were doing and we started our engines, so to speak. And that's great. I'm going to siphon our insight some more, create some sharks, sure. And if we have to start using all of our all will be one triggers to just deal damage to these sharks, I'm going to be a little bummed. Not going to lie. Any non-creature spell off the top would be great. Whether that's a fresh Jace, an Anger of the Gods, an Opt. Opt is awesome. This will do. This will do very nicely, as a matter of fact. We're going to buff up our Jace a little bit. Doink. Alright, I'm liking where this is going. Doink. They're going to Fatal Push their own shark just to make another shark? Alright. Serum Snare is actually pretty tight. I can work with that. So here we down tick Jace. Split Jace. 6 to the face. You'll see where this is going, and I gotta say, I'm a fan. I am gonna go ahead and then... we can Serum Snare the Shark Typhoon. Or we can Serum Snare the Shark itself. I'm gonna bounce the Shark Typhoon. We don't get this, the Proliferate off of the... yeah, we don't get the Proliferate off of the Serum Snare ability, but it doesn't matter. We've got this. Because this down ticks. Boom. We deal 6 to the face. Blast, blast. And then we Proliferate once and we call it a day. That's what we're talking about. We got there. Woo! Jace, Cunning Castaway, Ichormoon Gauntlet, and all will be one. That's what I'm talking about. Alright, so we see a 2-lander. We got Op, Serum Snare. We could potentially get into an Anger of the Gods, which is pretty sweet. And Narset. You know, I'm going to keep this and really hope this Op finds us a 3rd land. That's really important. If we don't find that 3rd land, this is not... Experimental Augury. Okay, that'll also help us find that 3rd land. So, here's hoping. We're going to throw Otawara. I don't want to commit to the shock if I don't have to. Iconoclast. That card does not suck. Well, I need Jace in order to execute our game plan, so... Here we go. Narset. Okay. Alright. Okay. Yeah, I'm committing to the Experimental Augury here. I'm gonna give them an opportunity to pop a little bit, make a bunch of soldiers, and then we're gonna just blow them all up, hopefully. Alright, they're crashing on in. And step, we Augury. Now they're holding blue up. They're holding blue up. This could be very bad for us, because yeah, if they counter this, which they do, with the Spell Piercer, they still have 2 mana open. We need to top deck a land, and we do. Thank freaking goodness. Okay. Now that land that we just top decked was not a red source, unfortunately, which is quite the bummer. Not gonna lie. Alright, I'm gonna try to stick a Flux Channeler. Let's see if it resolves. They might have an Essence Scatter or something of that nature. Alright. It sticks. Now they might have a Burn Spell to follow it up. On a Braid or something of that nature. Let's see. What you got, homie? Ooh, we're through. Okay, excellent. Let's go. Actually, I'm just realizing our sideboard currently has Lightning Strikes in it. I think those need to be a Braids. The final list that you see in the description might actually have a Braids in the sideboard. I'm realizing because they're in the sideboard specifically for the aggro matchup, so that we can remove creatures. A Braid can remove the creatures. The big benefit of Lightning Strike is that it can go face. And I don't really care about going face. That's not the point. Alright. Of one mind. Alright, we're getting to a point where we need to grip and rip that board wipe. Like, we need to get a red source post-haste, and we need to anger. You know what? I will. I'm gonna not block here because if we top deck a blue source, well, no, because then we still won't be able to cast anything. Never mind. I probably should have blocked there because we're kind of living and dying off that board wipe. Although to be fair, us having a Flux Channeler just means that we're keeping the 3rd Path Iconoclast at bay, which is nice. I like that. Fart. And unfortunately, Narset cannot draw us lands. That bites. Big time. Gonna play Narset anyway. Into a Spell Pierce, possibly. Yep, of course they have 2. That's how that works. Yeah. So I kept a 2-lander. I probably shouldn't have. At this point, with Balmor and 5 other bodies on the field, I'll be shocked if they don't have a couple of spells in hand to just kind of like pop, and just ruin my day. The other thing we could have done was kept Serum Snare up. That would have been fine. And like on upkeep, bounce Balmor, call it good. Okay, yeah, Fiery Impulse, that's not great. Yeah, they got it. That's lethal on board right now, actually. Yep, doggone it. Alright, so no dice on that one either. Alas, here we are. This hand is like... It's so close to being great. Ah, screw it, let's keep it. I've been... Throughout the course of trying to film this video, I have mulled to 5 into hand hate. I have been stuck on 6. I've, like... I don't know, there have been so many times where I was like, man, if only I had drawn X, this would have been great. And it just has never worked out, so screw it. We're going to keep the 7. We happen to hit the land, which is exactly what we needed. Our opponent is on Abzan Greasefang, because that is the only deck that cares about the graveyard. And so, even though we hit a sequence of perfect draws, they are going to end up beating us right here. And I'm not happy about it. Alright. Let's establish a Jace. Uptick said Jace. They play out Greasefang. Or no! Scarbank Center's tapped. Thank goodness. Okay, Satyr Wayfinder. So now... alright, tight. Huh. This puts us in an interesting position. We need to keep Serum Snare up, because if Greasefang shows up, they have the Parhelion in the yard. We need to be able to bounce it pre-combat main. That's critical. If we don't have that, we just lose, period. So I'm just going to uptick Jace. I just want to shore up Jace. Alright, and they're sitting on 8 cards, so if they have Greasy, they're going to play him down. I'm gonna Thoughtseize first. But now they can't play Greasefang now. Interesting. I don't like this, because they can't hit my all will be one here. And that's the scary one. All will be one is the scary card here. That's my win con. If oh, the Gauntlet, yes! Okay, don't get me wrong, Gauntlet's good. Gauntlet's very good. But all will be one is the bomb. Is the bomb diggity. The Rafine's Informant does its thing. Sure, sure, sure. Another Parhelion in the yard. Naturally, I am going to go ahead and have you pick that up real quick. We proliferate our JC Poo, and we top deck into the land that we needed. We split Jace, 3 there, 3 face, boom, boom. Uptick Jace, 1 to the face. Uptick Jace, another to the face. Alright, now, we need some spells. We need to get a Gauntlet going, we need to, Chariot is good, but a little slow. Yeah, if we could top deck into a Gauntlet, even something simple as an Opt, if we can drop a Flux Channeler and then start casting. Serum Star, that'll do. Oh, that'll do. Alright, Channeler, get out here. Let's freaking go. I'm then going to proceed to Serum Snare one of those cats. We proliferate like monsters. They're going to crew the Chariot, so that gives me an opportunity to kill their Chariot here. I'm going to deal 2 over here. I'm going to deal 1 to the Chariot. I'm about to split another Jace. Blam, blam, blam. Another Proliferate. Oh, I don't even need to wait until we split the Jace. We just triple tap the Chariot. Blam, blam, blam. It's kind of gross and I love it. And then we split this Jace. Boom. 6 face. I'm going to be so pissed if we miss lethal because I didn't, like, pay attention, just send everything face. Yeah, no, we got it. Yes! Alright, that's what I'm talking about. That is what we are here to do, my friends. We got there. Jace, All-Be-One, let's go. So here we are at the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the deck and the gameplay. I have to say it was a ton of fun to pilot. This is definitely a jank build in that it's fun when it works, but it oftentimes does fall to standard, like, just good strategies. Like, good stuff mid-range decks do often beat it. They just do. A lot of interaction can really break it up. Now, the benefit that it has right now as of this recording is that people won't see it coming. We saw a couple of times where people were hitting us with Thought Seizes and taking straight up the wrong thing, and I believe that was because they did not understand what our game plan was, because this is a weird deck that people don't see coming. So that's nice. That is a nice added advantage to Jank, as sometimes your opponent will misplay their interaction for that reason. So I gotta say, I think the deck is fun. I think it has some potential. I would not recommend crafting it if you're trying to achieve ladder excellence, but if you want to make some stuff go burr and see some fireworks go off, boy howdy does this deck deliver. So thank you so much for checking out the video, and thank you for making it to the end. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.